Hi, this is Sarah, the Stitchin Mommy, and I'm here on Monday, January 13th, and I'm here for a quick stitching update. Hopefully it will be quick. It's already pretty late in the day because my kids are finally back in school after their 3-week break and had a lot to do this morning already. And then I went to get set up for my video and I realized that this week was the week I had been thinking about starting my next Nora Corbett fairy for my niece, and I didn't have any threads pulled for it, the color conversion. So I went ahead and did that real quick. So I'll show you what I pulled for that a little bit later. I don't know that I'll get to start it this week, but at least it's ready if I get a chance. So without further ado, let's get started. So I have a couple things to show you that I got this week. One, the very afternoon I filmed last time, my color and cotton threads arrived for December. They look very much like a good mixture for February because there's pinks and greens and a really pale buttery yellow. So those are really pretty. I love this one, the darker smoky burgundy color, but I love them all. They're really pretty. So I'll get those into my stash. And then I won a giveaway from Mondot Stitches. I think she had a milestone on her channel, but she was giving away some of her stash that she had stitched, passing the stash. So I won Barnwood Buttons by Rosewood Manor, and I have one other Rosewood Manor, the crabapple tree, but I've never actually stitched anything. So it'll be fun to stitch. This one, she stitched it recently just like this with the called for fabric and the monochromatic look. Maybe even the button pack that you can find at some place. However, she said her mother stitched it on, I don't know what the fabric was, but she made it colorful with like green leaves and colorful buttons and flowers. And she changed, even Diane changed this to a Bible verse. I forget, this one says, when one tugs at a single thing in nature, he finds it attached to the rest of the world. But she did this verse, and I think I will do it too. Isaiah 48, the grass withers, the flower fades, but the word of our God stands forever. And I was thinking it would be perfect to make this in a pillow, for a throw pillow for my mother-in-law, because I have a whole bunch of vintage buttons from her mom, who is now passed away. And I thought that would be really fun to find some colorful buttons from my grandma-in-law to put on this and give it to my mother-in-law for her to decorate her house and make it more of a colorful one with green leaves and stuff, using my fancy floss in my stash. I'm not sure what fabric I would use yet. And the other thing I was thinking, if I have a small, quote-unquote, small gift idea that I think I could finish within a reasonable amount of time, I don't know that I'll count that as a WIP because I know it's a start and finish and it's for somebody to give away. The WIP count that we are constantly talking about is usually those projects that are personal projects, that are just for me, that are ongoing, or the really large projects that will eventually go to somebody, but it's going to take forever to finish them. This is a smaller one that I think it's fairly wide, but it's not as much stitching as a lot of the things I usually do. So I think this would be a lot more doable for a gift stitching. So I may or may not pull this out this year and work on that because I think that would be a really fun thing to make as a gift. Her birthday is in August, so it's possible I could even do it for that. And then in addition to this, Diane threw in a Stitchville corner gauge, which I've never had a corner gauge before, so this is kind of fun. And they have a hole here for 2 inches, 2.5, and then this outside would be 3. If you want to put it on the top corner of your fabric, then you can know where to start without using a regular ruler like an animal. But that's fun. So that's my first corner gauge. So thank you, Diane. That was fun to win that. So that's all I received this week. I guess I should keep those separate so I don't lose my threads. I guess I'll go ahead and show you my temperature pieces. The first, let's see, I did a little bit on my temperature quilt, which is mostly done now, so I won't even bother showing you the pattern. But this is what it looked like before. And here it is now. and I worked a good amount of the sashing down the side. So now I have very little sashing just along the bottom, a little bit here. So, however, this week I'm still working on my Etsy stitching that I need to do, and I'm a little bit behind. I got a start on the Bloomtopia Sal, but not a very big start, so I need to get that going if I ever have extra time. So those other projects are probably taking priority over this one. But if I have time where I want some really mindless stitching, I can pull this out and work on it. But this has kind of taken a backseat, at least this week. I did do some on my temperature tree, which is my temperature piece for this year. And this is what that will look like, a mock-up. Everybody's will be different because each leaf represents a day of the week with the temperature from your area. And so this is what mine looked like last time. I think I had it started before. And this is where it is now. This is on 28 count. Light blue even weave from Hobby Lobby, their Artiste Zweigart brand there. And so I worked on this yesterday. Let's see if this works. If it focuses. I'm using my phone because somebody said it had a really good quality video. So there we go. It's a little bit better. So I only had one low day in there with that in the 50s, that burgundy one, and all the rest have been 60s. And then this one right here was in the 70s. So not exactly the greatest January colors, but it's fun. And I'm using Classic Colorworks Cocoa Bean for the trunk. And I did this for fun, and I have continued with the leaves even past the challenge, but I did use this for a challenge last week in Enchanted Stitching challenges. And so a lot of this branch and down here was part of the 250 stitches for that. And I won't do this one again this week as far as a challenge piece. So I'll just probably do leaves this week because, again, I want to get a few other things worked on, and some non-personal stuff needs to take priority this week. So challenge stitching this past week, besides the temperature tree, the next thing I worked on was my Anne of Green Gables quick stitch, which I'm cropping to this so it's even smaller than the regular quick stitch. It's just Anne and Gilbert. And here's what it was before, and here it is now. So I decided that I picked black because I wanted something that would go really fast. These are half stitches, so I needed 500 of them instead of 250. So I did a whole bunch back here, and then I kept going down, and I pulled. There was a few patches along here, but they were small, so I just went ahead and jumped down here, so I knew there was a lot of big chunks again. And I got just over 500 doing that, so that was fun. This one would be cool if I got a move on and worked on it regularly. I could maybe finish it this year. So that would be fun. This is 1/1 half stitches on 40 count silk gauze. It'll be about 3 inches square when it's done. Slightly smaller than 3 inches square, I think, but it's going to fit in a 3-inch frame. So that's that. Oh, 2 and 5/8 inches square, but because frames have a little bit of an overlap, it'll fit really nice in a 3-inch frame. Let's see, not this one yet. Knitting Woman. I did the same thing on Knitting Woman. I knew I was running out of time because, like I said, I was working on Etsy stitching during the day whenever I could, but because my kids were home, even though it wasn't Christmas festivities and planning, it was still kids being home and just being distracting and doing family things and whatnot. So I didn't have as much stitching during the day as I had hoped, and so I didn't get a lot of stitching time. So by the time the end of the week was rolling around, getting closer, looming, so to speak, I knew this piece often gets shortchanged because I'm kind of over here. There's a lot of color changes, and I didn't want to shortchange it again. And so I decided to pop over here and work in the dark colors so I could get a lot of stitches and get the full goal and met in the Enchanted Stitching group and have it see some significant progress. Ideally, in a future week, I can pull this out when it's not so crowded with other activities and projects, and actually get, you know, 500 or even 200, which is these are half stitches, so I need double of these as well, the middle chunk of 200 in the more confetti areas. And that would be nice, because then I want to see some more progress on the actual lady and the girl. So, but this is what this looked like before. And here it is now. So I didn't do anything over here, but I did a little over 500 stitches over here in one color, and it was a blend, but I did about 3 lengths of that and got, this is 22 count Ada, 2 over 1 half stitches. And I'm pretty happy with that. It's fun to finally see something happen. Get a chunk of that done. And then by then that was Saturday night. And I knew I only had a little bit of time on Sunday. And time flies fast when the challenges are done at 9. And I was stitching right up until 9 p.m. My time, because it's midnight Eastern Standard Time. And I worked on Winter Queen for the very last one. I decided this one could get shortchanged this time instead of the other one, since Knitting Woman often gets shortchanged. I do want to pull this out more for future challenges here in January and February. It didn't really fit perfectly with any of the prompts from this week. There's one I could have done, but it was work on something that you find fun, which could be anything really. So I chose a family piece for that instead. But this one I ended up getting just to the halfway mark, about 100 stitches. And the halfway, there's 3, in the Enchanted Stitching group on Facebook, there's 3 levels of point values for each prompt. So you can work either 50 stitches or a half hour for 1 point, 100 stitches or 1 hour for 2 points, and then 250 stitches or 2 hours for 5 points. And so Temperature Tree, Anne of Green Gables, and Knitting Woman all got the full 5 points, and then Mirabilia only got 2 points, the Winter Queen. But I am happy that I worked on her. I got a color finished in her hair, so this is what she looked like before. And there's her hair now. I didn't work on any of her clothes, but I finished the darker blonde color. There was 1 stitch there that for some reason I hadn't done before, and then a whole bunch of this down here. I filled in that color. So I do want to get back to her in the near future and do some crown, some darker shades on her hair. I want to maybe, at the very least, get her head done in 2020. So that's where she's at. Get a nice full picture for you for next time. So I'm not going to pull her out this coming week, but hopefully in the next few weeks, there'll be an excuse to bring her out again, because I really do like where I got on her and trying to get this top part finished up. So this coming week, I don't know what I was thinking. There were some perfect whips I had that fit the prompts, and so I decided to go with those whips, and if I run out of time, I'll shoot for the lower goals on some of them maybe, but I really liked the idea of choosing from my whole whip pile. If something was super specific, that'd be really fun to find something that matched perfectly, and I have a few that do. And then the one that was more generic, that was either stitch on something fun or stitch on something that you're drowning in, I chose the something fun because I'm not in the mental headspace to work on something that I'm drowning in, because I could do like the stitching shelf or something that's enormous and complicated, and that could count for that, but I don't really want to work on that this week. So I decided for the something fun, I would pull out, forgot to grab this one, pull out my ants piece, because I do want to get some time on that this month. And this is Quick Stitch Iris, because I do have fun working on this. This is on 1/1 on 25 count, and it's very enjoyable. This is a Heaven and Earth Designs very small chart. Where is this one? This is where I'm at right now with this one, and I'm working it diagonally, cross country in diagonals, and then I'll park in the next diagonal wherever that color appears next. So I have a tiny bit to do right here and a couple more down here, and then I can start the new diagonal. So we shall see how far I get. Ideally, I would get 250 stitches on this. I can import this into Pattern Keeper and start working on it that way, which will be really fun. I love how Pattern Keeper keeps track of your stitches for you. Makes it so much easier. So now, like, working on mirabilias or other things that are not in Pattern Keeper, having to go back to tallying is like, oh man. Having them keep track of it for me is so much nicer. So hopefully this one can get in Pattern Keeper. The Knitting Woman is actually too old to be in Pattern Keeper right now with the copy that I have. Golden Kite currently has PDFs that are password protected, and their arrangement with Pattern Keeper is they'll only allow Pattern Keeper to use PDFs that are password protected. So if you have a chart that was bought previously to 2013, they're not password protected. So you need to contact Golden Kite and get a different password protected PDF file to be able to use Pattern Keeper. I'm sure I have more than Knitting Woman that will qualify for that. So I need to go through my records and figure out all the order numbers and all the specific patterns and see if I can get any of those in an updated version so that I can use Pattern Keeper with those. So far I had to use my just highlighter and paper for the Knitting Woman also this week. But this is a Heaven and Earth design and all of theirs are compatible with Pattern Keeper. So that'll be nice that it can keep track of my stitches for me. And hopefully I'll get 250. I'm really curious once I get it in Pattern Keeper to find out exactly how many stitches I have left, how long it would take me to finish this if I only do one Enchanted Stitching challenge a month of 250 stitches. Like how many months would that take me to finish it? And I'm curious if I can finish it with 2 Enchanted Stitching challenges, like if I work on it 2 different weeks in the month and get 500 stitches on it every month, if that will get it finished in a year. Maybe I'll do that, because it would be fun to get this one done too, since this is going to be a gift for my aunt. So this is closer to being done than Knitting Woman, so that would be fun to get something, another full coverage finished. Another one that was super obvious, well, not one of the ones that was super obvious, was work on something that has to do with the night sky or stars. So I had to pull out Stargazer because, you know, she's gazing at the stars. So this is my mirabilia for this week. And you just saw this in my whip parade recently, but I'll show you again. Here's where I'm at now. And she's gorgeous. This is on homemade hand-dyed fabric. It was MCG Textiles white, 32 count linen, and I hand-dyed it, double dyed it with denim rit. So these beads at the top are crazy hard to count because it's dark fabric and plump threads because of the dye process. But I think because the goal is for the starry sky, I do think I want to try to get some more of the star beads in. And if I run out of beads in the sky, I can move on to her jacket or dress or something. But there's where she is to start with. This one's a little bit complicated, and if I want to just stay in the sky, then I could maybe just shoot for the 100 goal. So we'll see on that one. We'll see how much time I have this week for personal stitching and how crazy this is making me feel. If I get too tired of beads, then maybe I'll just switch over to dress anyways. So we'll see. So there's that one. Should get some time this week. And then another one that was perfect was something to do with piracy or pirates, or which could be a ship. I have this Norwegian ship under sail, and I want to try to get a page finished this year. So I thought that would be nice. Pull this out. I just realized too, this is a half stitch project, so I would need to get 500 stitches on this to meet the top goal. But I am up here in the sky where there's a lot of similar colors. So maybe, and I don't know how old this pattern is, if I can use if I'll be able to use Pattern Keeper or not. It says 2002, so probably not. So if I can get an email out to Golden Kite early in the week and maybe have them get back to me with some new patterns sooner, maybe I'll get to put this in Pattern Keeper too. But if not, I'll just do you know, highlighting paper. So that's where that one is now. This is 25 count linen, I think. 2 over 1 half stitch. And the last one that I pulled for a challenge was, or is, my in the beginning, because they said if they said talked about the little lost boys in Neverland. In case I didn't say, the Enchanted Stitching Challenge movie for the month of January is Peter Pan. So these challenges filter around the Peter Pan. So they're in Neverland this week, and they said if you were a lost boy, what animal would you dress up as? And one of their animals, I don't think you had to pick one of their animals, but one of their animals was raccoons. And my in the beginning sampler has a raccoon at the bottom. I'm up here in the peacock, and I may actually even go up to the very top and work more on the border and the night sky. But it didn't say you had to stitch on the animal, just said stitch something that contains the animal. So because this had a raccoon, I figured I'll pull this out. And ameyostitch on Instagram, she has had Flosstube videos, but I don't think she's made one in a while. She just finished this. So if you are on Instagram, go check her out. I'll link her Instagram below, and it looks really nice. So I'll probably work up here in the night sky and this border for one of the challenges for either 100 or 250, depending on my time. So here is where I'm at now. So yeah, like I could work on peacock. Last time I used this for a challenge with something that flew, so I worked on that, but I do have a lot up here that I could still stitch in this corner, and that would be nice to get done as well. Or I could even backstitch this bird as well. So we'll see what I'm in the mood for when I pull this out. This is on 18 count antique white Aida. Looks like I've got a nasty crease right here from when it was in the package, but that's okay. Hopefully we can get that out. And then, like I said, I realized right before I started filming that last year I worked on my family pieces every month on the date of the month that corresponded with their birthday. And I kind of liked that, but now that I'm doing the Enchanted Stitching challenges, it's nice to have it be more general. And so, like, so far I've worked on my son's piece, but not my husband's piece, which is normally on the 1st, because I had a New Year's New Start on the 1st instead. And I've worked on my mom's piece now, and this week I'm hoping to work on my aunt's piece. So my second son's piece and my niece's piece and my husband's piece are still available to work on. I'm supposed to start this next fairy, the letter E fairy, by Nora Corbett. And these are nice and small. I'm working these for my niece's graduation presents. I finished H last year, and my goal will be to finish this one this year, because I think if I can get one done a year, I'll be going real good. Because the letter H girl, the letter H niece graduates this summer. The E and the L graduate 2 years from now. So I want to make sure I get both of them done before their graduation in 2 years. So I have 2.5 years to finish 2 of these. And I want to make sure, and then I have like another one the year after that, and then 2 more the year after that. So I need to make sure I'm staying up with it so I don't get behind. This one looks fairly involved. I think it's a little bit more complicated than the other ones I've done. But I wanted to do a little bit of conversion here. These call for a lot of crescent colors, which are hand-dyed threads now. They're Classic Color Works. They've changed their name. But I'm using my own conversion of whatever fancy floss I happen to have. And then I'm also wanting to change her dress to red. And then there's some like jewels in here that I'll probably also make red, so they'll be like rubies. And then this outer thing, I'll do like a really light red, pinky color to be kind of a complement. And these sprigs that she's throwing up in the air will be the light red or medium red that I'm choosing. So it'll be golds and reds. And so this is kind of the palette that I came up with. And the called for water lily 32 count linen. And so Ye Old Gold was called for. This is a darker shade than Heirloom Gold by Gentle Arts, which is not called for. These are some Victorian mottos for the red. It's like Garden Rose and Crimson Apple. Garden Gate is a Victorian motto that I'll use instead of fennel or something they had, dark fennel. These browns, peach, and this one, and where's the other one? The ones, oh, back here, you can't even see it. These ones I use for like the wings and the skin and the hair, those are all the same that I've done in my the other fairies. So I'm going to put a picture in here that I took right before this of it all spread out nicely, because it's kind of hard to show you all the things when they're on bobbins. It's easier when they're on like thread drops, and then you can lay them out nicely for a video, but all my threads on bobbins, so you kind of get what you get. I haven't figured out the conversion for the beads, because I'll probably want some of the beads to be reddish colors, and I probably have some in my stash. I just haven't looked through them yet, so I can do that later. But I think these not bright, but they're dark, rich reds, and I really like that. So this will be like a darker shade. Her dress is actually like 4 shades of colors. So I'll be doing 2 shades of red in her dress, and then this color back here is a limited edition color in cotton, and I'll use that for this little outline, and then some of these wispies and, you know, as accents, but I don't think I'll use that in the dress. They have a really pale color. I don't know, that doesn't help it focus really. They have a really pale color in here for her dress, but I don't think I want mine that pale. On the H fairy, her dress was all one color, so my first thought was just to do 1 color, but I think I will go with 2, because one of these colors is a little bit darker than the other, and I think that'll be pretty nice. So if I get a chance to start that this week, I will. Otherwise, I'll possibly wait till next week and see if it'll fit for a challenge, and then start it for that. I also have one more fancy lady, sort of, that I was thinking of starting this month that might happen next week or the week after, so we'll have to wait and see on all of those if they fit with challenges, if they fit with my brain space. And that's that. So I think I got everything. I'll probably do my Etsy stitching as travel stitching this week, just to make sure it gets done. And only work on leaves on my temperature tree, which is nice because they're very small, so it's easy to keep up with that. And then if I get chance as well, I'll work on more of the Bloomtopia charity stitch along that I've started a little bit, because I got to get that done soon. I guess I have another couple weeks to finish part 1. So what I've done with the Enchanted, like the Bloomtopia style so far, is if I finish a challenge in Enchanted Stitching at the end of an evening and I still have just a little bit of time, I don't really want to get started on the next one, then I'll work for, 15 minutes on the Bloomtopia one. So that's what I did a couple times, and so that was nice. But it's nice to get that started. I'm excited to show that to you when part 1 comes out on the 1st. And I think that's everything. So I can go have some lunch and you can enjoy your stitching. So have a wonderful week, and Lord willing, I'll see you next week. Actually, next week is Martin Luther King Day. So I probably won't be back on Monday, but probably Tuesday of next week. So until then, happy stitching. Bye.